just have.
Yeah, I just turned it on though. It should be okay.
Oh.
Hey, hey. Yeah, it's good.
Hello.
It's one of the only ones without a button because sometimes people get lippy and want to stop. Yeah, I mean, they were alright. It's funny, I don't know what happened to it after he left the military until 2014 or so. They just did something and then they haven't had a mask on in a long time. Yeah, he's done some Cisco firewall stuff. Oh, you can? Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thanks for letting me know. You're not gonna like people. Like, what do? You just interview all those three?
No, just choose two.
It's that guy, Brendan. I can't remember the third one.
Yeah, just choose how
And Neil failed one, so. Well, he knows everybody over there in one corner of the city.
Hey, Julie, where do I normally pull up the documents from? Is it online or is?
Yeah, right there on the website. Oh, no, scroll up. Yeah, those are the history. So keep going up, right there.
But I'm only seeing the agenda. Does it have everything?
Yeah.
I just meditated.
Oh.
Aha. Here, so I feel like I'm
Like on purpose? And you're on
Yeah,
the
with
bed
learning.
playing cold
I did that.
for 2 hours?
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I'm looking for.
Well, no, Robbie was in there.
Here's your nameplate.
All the wastewater guys were in there.
For 2 hours?
All right, last one of the year.
Mindful leadership. And so we were all together for 2 hours. So, well, there were discussion moments. And, yeah, it was pretty cool. Braden was my partner. And at the beginning, like it was on the first half was more that it was just mindfulness.
What do they normally do?
The
Like
second
third
hour
or
was
fourth
really
week?
meditating. Yeah. So scared. Get out of the chair.
Did I ever show you my app that, like, they're always dark.
Yeah, being the third Tuesday, it's coming really close.
And so like,
I don't, I mean,
I wanna do every day.
We literally
Like a cowbell.
yeah, we have a cowbell and we're like, hey, everyone.
The words are all silly, like it's like a video game.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it's mostly, I used to have this really big checklist. You know, there's 10 things I want to do every day. And so it just resets. So the morning comes and you just do all your stuff again. And this one just happens to make a like character out of you and you win all these weird, like, you get these eggs and these potions. And then you hatch the egg with the potion and suddenly you have independent
Jason, what's your side?
I'm an IT analyst.
And you're still interim manager?
Yeah, IT manager, yeah.
Is it, do we remove interim, or you?
No, you can keep interim. They also call it the chief information officer. Yeah.
Yeah, well, how do you want to be introduced again?
Oh, yeah, you can call me the interim IT manager, that sounds good, or just the IT manager, either way.
We're trying, we like the interim remove, but I don't think
Yeah.
we can take care of that in this meeting.
Not until the next budget meeting.
Oh, in terms of when you're going through the workforce.
I'm just glad we're getting a new person.
When is that? By the beginning of the year or something?
Well, she's your, if you guys tell Lisa tomorrow who you want to interview, I will be interviewing next week.
You
I like to get them to first, that's kind of joke.
Is it a panel interview?
Yeah, she'll probably do a full panel. The unique thing is, we should get Joe Stevenson, one of those guys from California. Do you hear James?
You know what? What are you talking about? You just started. That's weird. Like, why, what is he doing? What is he doing with his life? Well, yeah, that's why you're supposed to sit still and do nothing. So you could figure it out.
How are things? Welcome back. No? That's good. Well rested. Yeah.
Just reading cover letters and
It was good, it was relaxing for most of it. The end, we kind of got after a little bit. We were gonna end up in the city for our last day, and then we stopped in Sonoma and we were like, oh, it's probably a great time to go. I mean, it'll be cool, but, you know, people, not a lot of people. Wow, okay. Oh, that's cool. Very cool. Oh, that's fancy. This should be a pretty straightforward one, I think.
she worked.
We got Jessica and Jason are gonna do the IT presentation.
I just wanted to say thanks to both of you for being here and giving this presentation to the youth commission. I know everyone's busy, so
You're so welcome.
appreciate your time. How's everything going today? Good.
We actually we got a resume drop today for position, so it's a good day.
Okay. That is good. Like,
For Jason's partner. I call him Miss Minnie.
okay.
Stress reliever.
Stress reliever. And is this to replace, oh my God.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
James, and then Just Jason's, that's 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah, busy.
No,
Busy job.
there's people that get called before. People call me.
There are people that get called, so it's just like a
People in
chain.
New York.
I call him too.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll call him.
So, I think it's time. So, wait, we don't have quorum yet, do we? We're missing. one.
What's up?
Oh, we're missing just one?
No, we're missing
Two.
three. Yeah, Kiara and Gabby are out sick. And, I don't see David.
Yeah.
Did they last?
But 5 gets us our,
Oh, wireless.
Oh, yeah, yeah, sorry.
Nope.
Thank you so much.
We don't have to, and he could be a late arrival. But he did not come back. He may very well not be. Olivia, you can go ahead.
I call this meeting to order at 4:31 PM on December 1st, 2021.
All right, I'll call roll, and when you hear your name, if you say present. Olivia Pacheco,
Present.
Sophia Gonzalez,
Present.
Landon Junis,
Present.
Joy Rupert,
Present.
Amelia Sue,
Present.
and David Lashensky, Gabby Colombo, and Kiara Colombo. Let the record show all commissioners are present except for Gabby, Kiara, and David.
Commissioner Sue, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, today we have City of Encinitas IT Manager Jessica Contreras and Jason York, who is an IT analyst, for our special presentations and proclamations.
Do you want to? Well, welcome to the City of Encinitas. I'm Jessica Contreras, and this is Jason York. We run this cybersecurity program for Encinitas as well as IT. After 2016, cybersecurity became a really big thing. In 2007, I studied cybersecurity at Stanford and brought some of that skill set here to the city. Jason has been hands-on involved with this tremendous growth in cyber threats that impact the community. And that's why we want to share some of the information we have with you today. So cybersecurity impacts each one of us from everything, in terms of everything that we do, from leveraging our cell phones to using email to doing homework online through Google Classroom. But cybersecurity also impacts things that you might not be as familiar with, like water distribution, which is something that we manage here for SDWD, water treatment, which is something that Jason and I work with for the San Elijo Joint Powers Authority, traffic. You can imagine what would happen if all of the traffic lights went green at the same time. Public safety, we have our 911 calls. And that's an area where multiple agencies have had issues over the past few years with our 911 systems being breached. And then we have marine safety as well, which you're familiar with. So cybersecurity is unique in the fact that international agents and domestic people that have bad intentions can harm the public good. So day-to-day, 24/7, every day, including holidays, we do our best to keep the city, the water districts, and the public safety agencies that we support cyber secure. And we're going to go through how we do some of these things, but also what you can do as youth commissioners to share what we call the community cybersecurity information with youth. And we'll start off to go through why it matters to all of us, some of the layers of defense and what you can do and who helps. So Jason and I don't work as standalone rogues. We work with quite a few federal agencies and local agencies to assist in ensuring that we remain safe and to take action when things do occur. So first, cybersecurity, why it matters. Well, number one, I'm sure you guys, you may have heard last year in Florida when there was water chemistry change during the Super Bowl through a cyber breach. I'm sure you heard about the power issues and the pipeline issues with the Colonial Pipeline that was taken offline, resulting in gas outages on the East Coast as well as heating problems because of a cyber breach. So it really matters. There's one cyber breach every 39 seconds, and that doesn't mean just an individual's email being hacked, but pretty large breaches to agencies. We have at least 44 attempted breaches against our own website per day, and 90% of the email hitting the city is malicious. So it is phishing, or it is email that we have to filter out before it hits the inboxes of our agencies so that we do not get breached. And what we're going to talk through as well is that that's now happening using text messaging also. So society relies more and more on automation. How many of you guys were online for school the past year and a half during the pandemic? Okay. How many of you have parents that worked from home telecommuting during the pandemic? Okay. So technology has become so ubiquitous that almost every person in our house is somehow impacted by the risk. How many of you have a cat or dog with a little GPS unit on their collar? Or a refrigerator, or a Ring camera, or a heating or air conditioning unit that you can change, some smart home equipment? Any of you guys have that? Or a car that has either self-driving or a GPS unit? Okay, so there's so many different ways, and what these two charts show is that society relies more on automation, but similarly, rather than having war with physical weapons, we're finding that there's cyber crime has escalated from being something that used to be, when I first went to college, just a college kid trying to hack into an email account to see if they could, to something where it's a nation state trying to turn off power. So we'll go to the next slide here. So there have been quite a few local breaches. These are two that happened in the fairly near future. So the city of Oceanside, as well as the city of San Marcos, were hit by ransomware attacks. What happens when that occurs, so let's say someone clicks a phishing link on an email, it locks and encrypts files, requesting ransomware before those files can be unlocked. The FBI, if they know that you have been hit by ransomware, they do come in and often sequester your hardware, which takes everything offline. And then there was the Port of San Diego that got hit. The unique thing is we have what's called an FBI Fusion Center here in San Diego, and they actually identified the people responsible. They were from Iran, and they created malware called SamSam. So the FBI Fusion Center here located in San Diego identified that crime and were able to get those criminals off the internet and off the dark web. That SamSam virus, before it hit the Port of San Diego, it had already hit 200 agencies, water agencies, 911 call centers, and it serves as an example in the county for how to respond to a cyber incident. So what we're gonna talk to you guys today about is how you can respond to a personal incident if something happens, where to report it, and then we're also gonna go through a little bit of what we're doing both locally and then at the county level and the federal level to try to ensure that these things don't happen. So I serve as a part of the FBI InfraGuard, which is a local FBI offshoot, as a cybersecurity sector chief. And Jason's also on his way, I think, to getting into InfraGuard. So it requires a pretty long background check, but he's on his way. So what we're doing as a region in San Diego is implementing cyber sector chiefs for each area of life that supports the community. How many of you guys are aware that Scripps Health went offline last year because of a cyber incident? We literally had to direct ambulances away from the Scripps Hospital to other ERs during the pandemic because of a cyber breach. So we have, for example, a cybersecurity sector chief for healthcare, for education, for water, for public safety. So what we're trying to do regionally is working with the FBI to form a web of cybersecurity knowledge. So these are some of the agencies that we work with, and this slide shows up twice because these agencies we work with, but they also work for you. And the first one is the San Diego Law Enforcement Coordination Center. That is our FBI Fusion Center for San Diego. And that is where the majority of your FBI agents are sharing information. They are very, very aware of what's going on online and in social media. We also have the FBI and the San Diego Sheriff, but the main agency that we all really rely on is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which is a part of the Department of Homeland Security. How many of you guys know why the Department of Homeland Security was created? Yes. So 9/11 showed that all of the agencies that we have, both local and federal, we're not sharing information. So what the Department of Homeland Security does is help everyone share information. Jason and I work with them on cybersecurity audits to ensure that, for example, the PLC controls or the water technology is appropriately secured to the best of the knowledge that the Department of Homeland Security has. We work with a group that does feed our data back so that the CISA can notify us through a group called MSISAC if there are anomalies on the network. And then we most recently, Jason and I teamed together with the U.S. Secret Service, and they're responsible for financial crimes. So if something happens where money is involved or bank accounts need to be frozen, you work with the Secret Service. And just in the past month, we worked with them. So why me? You're like, why am I here? Why does this matter? Well, you are a huge part in your positions to keep the community cyber secure. And then in the future, as you go to college and as you have careers, this knowledge that you're obtaining now and this awareness, if you take it into everything you do, will keep the community safe. So we're going to show you a few ways of recognizing issues. So Jason is the one that 24/7 is behind keeping things secure. We have a team as well. He can share a little bit about that.
Thank you, Jess. Hello, youth commissioners. I'm Jason York with the IT department. I'm an IT analyst. I've been working here for about 12 years. That's mostly true 24/7. Luckily, there's a bunch of different teams of people who are watching what's happening with the city, and if they see something, they will notify me. So I do get to sleep sometimes, but they might call me at 3 a.m. and say, hey, you need to log on and figure out what's going on. Thank you for being here and let us talk today to you, because we spend a lot of time in this room talking to the people who work here and trying to tell them, watch out for your email, don't click this, because we're concerned with ransomware. And basically, ransomware takes all the files and all the data we rely on and locks it up. And one of the best examples I've found for that, if you're not familiar with ransomware, is like if, say you went to sleep on Sunday and when you woke up on Monday, every one of our intersections had a toll booth at it. That's kind of it. It's like putting a lock on a physical file cabinet for all the things we need to do our work. So that's what we spend a lot of time in this room trying to avoid, because that's like it's one of the most common things right now, and it's the worst thing that could happen, because then you have to almost start from scratch with all of the hardware and your email systems and all these things. You basically work with the FBI and they tell you when you're allowed to use a computer and which one you're allowed to use, and then you spend a lot of money trying to fix that stuff. So since you guys aren't staff here and we don't need to worry about ransomware quite as much. We're trying to tailor this a little more to stuff that might be more relative to your life as students and then as future employees somewhere. So we'll just talk about mobile device security a little bit. Some of the things, this is pretty, I was just kind of looking for an overview of stuff to tell you, and this is from Verizon has a website. Almost every major carrier probably has a security site. It'll just tell you these quick tips that are pretty useful for almost all of us, because we're probably not going to stop using cell phones anytime soon, and I'm sure you all have them, and multiple devices, iPads, cell phones. Half the people here have 2 cell phones because they have one for work and one for personal. So some of the tips they go through are keep your operating system patched and up to date. That's huge there's always people looking for holes and vulnerabilities in operating systems and hardware, trying to find ways that they could either get information off your phone or take control of it to try and use it to spread some more malware or something like that. Another tip is to be cautious of public Wi-Fi. So sometimes if Wi-Fi is unsecured, there might be a way for someone else who's on there to run some tools to kind of, they call it packet sniffing. They could maybe pull your information. So if you were doing something like banking or pushing some personal data over the air, basically, over the radio waves, they might be able to pull that and use it. So some of the ways you could get around that is if you have a hotspot on your phone, that's useful to be able to use instead of public Wi-Fi, because it's your personal mobile carrier, your account from your phone that you're directly connected to, and other people need a password to get onto it, so it's a lot more secure. And then, or a VPN you could use, and that just helps encrypt the traffic so that if someone were to be on that same network trying to sniff out your traffic, they wouldn't be able to see it. And then another tip is to use antivirus or anti-malware on your phone. A lot of people don't do this, especially for iPhones, MacBooks. There used to be a pretty common saying that, well, I have a Mac. That was the big one. Do you have antivirus? No, well, I have a Mac. And that was kind of years ago. And that was just because Mac wasn't as big of a target as Microsoft was. Microsoft, it was easy to kind of hack and break their stuff. And so hackers were going straight for that. And then over the course of years, they started kind of going for everything. As Apple took over a lot more market share and a lot more people had those devices, they said, well, why don't we start spending some time on those and attacking them too? So regardless of what brand or model of device, we kind of encourage you to have antivirus or anti-malware on it. Another one for mobile devices is encryption. So typically, whether you have a PIN, password, fingerprint, or facial recognition, part of that, it's not just to prevent someone else from getting into your phone, but it also encrypts your phone. So if someone, if they can't get that PIN in there, some settings on your phone, not sure if you want to set them up or not, they might wipe your phone if you can't get in there after 15 or 20 times or something. But then part of that also is it encrypts it so that if they can't put that number in, it's not going to show them any useful information. And that's the biggest threat with mobile devices. It's not so much you're going to take down a whole city's network. It's personal data. It's your life that lives on that phone. And if you do mobile banking, if you do any of the things you need personally on there, someone else could get access to them. So you want to keep that stuff secure. And then one of the other things they had mentioned is just like Find My Device apps. So if your phone gets misplaced or stolen, you can find it if it's not dead or uncharged. And then remote wipe features as well. So like if you were able to get access to your phone and you were concerned about someone getting into it and you wanted to just wipe it so that it looked like a brand new phone, you might be able to set that feature up as well. Some fraud prevention tips. These are just general ones you hear. It's really, it's become a lot more common around here maybe to see, you get a lot more phone calls, just random phone calls, random texts from people trying to gather information. A lot of times they'll say it's the IRS. You might get emails asking for social security number information. So one real common tip you always hear is that the IRS is never going to call you or email you to get that information. They like to send letters still. So they'll send you a nice paper letter and ask for that stuff. So part of fraud prevention is really just it's awareness and scrutiny. it's trying to understand, like if someone's just calling you out of the blue, asking you for personal information, like who is this person? Why would I give them this information? A lot of times a common practice with these scams is that people try to push an urgency and make it seem like it's very important that you give me this information right now because this, that, or whatever. So you really, they try to get your heart rate up to get that information out before you have a chance to slow down and think, well, wait a minute, who are you and why would I give you this information? So with phone call related scams like that, it's important to kind of keep your cool or hang up. I tell people here with phishing emails, I say there's tons of real emails that we could all be working on. Just delete the other ones and try to do your work. And if it's really important, they'll get back to you, in a way that seems legitimate. A lot of preventing this stuff is trying to work with people you're expecting emails from. Most people don't email you out of the blue for your social security number. It's not typical business practice around here anyway. And then, yeah, it's kind of confusing, we say, you're not going to use email for any of that information. Someday you might have to tell someone something over the phone. It's just important that you know who that person is and why you're doing that. And then, yeah, the urgency again, it's likely a scam if they're just kind of pressing you for that info. And then just the text messages. So similar to phishing emails, people might send links that go to malicious websites that try to infect your device or computer. You're starting to see those more on text messages. So typically if you get a text message with a weird old link, you just delete it and block the number, and then you don't have to worry about getting that type of message from that person anymore. You can wait a week and get another one from someone else probably. So protecting devices, just again, have updated antivirus, even if it's an Apple. And two-factor authentication, does anyone know what that is? So it's basically, we were all used to usernames, passwords, or email and password, and then it's just typically your phone number or it's something you have. So a password is something you know, a phone is something you have, and that's the two-factor. So basically, you would log in and set up your phone to get a text message, or you put a code in to verify that you're you, and it's not just someone else has your credentials and they're in a different state logging in. It just provides an extra layer of protection to make sure to verify your identity when you're doing important things. So some of the things you definitely want to set up two-factor authentication for are your banking. So that way, if someone else got credentials for your bank account, they can't necessarily log in. And most of these sites, they have a way for you to, you could log onto your bank, click the code they need, and say, don't bother me for 30 days about this, But they do a pretty good job of tracking location. If you log into your bank from some weird state, they'll send a code to those people. So it's just a good way to kind of geographically define where you're at doing your banking and make sure that it's you. So I recommend that for banking. For social media is a big one. I see people still on social media, don't open this, I got hacked. It's pretty hard to get hacked on there with two-factor authentication because basically if someone else gets your credentials, your phone's going to start going off saying, what's the code, what's the code, what's the code? And you kind of know that something's going on. You could get into your account and go change your password so that no one else could try to get in there anymore. And email is huge because all these sites, if you need to reset your password, they're all typically glued to your email. And if you don't have two-factor on your email and someone gets those credentials, then they could start changing all of your other accounts. So email is kind of like the first place to start. Make sure whether you're using Google or what it is, all those things should have two-factor authentication on it. And then I mentioned VPN earlier, virtual private network. You could get those for mobile devices, whether it's a phone or an iPad, tablet, and laptops, computers. Basically, they just encrypt your data so that it can't be seen if someone is trying to sniff traffic on that network. Location privacy, so like on your mobile devices, even on laptops now are always barking about it when you go to a website. They're like, can I see where you're at? Basically, a lot of that has to do with I want to give you the most valid ads so that I could sell you the most, I want to make sure that the ad I'm showing you is from the Home Depot around the corner and not 2 states over, that kind of thing. But every time a website barks about location, they don't need to know where you are unless you want them to, you know? If you're using an application that's a map app, you might want to know where your location is so that your car actually, you know, it looks like you're going the right way. But a lot of times you don't need to say yes to that stuff, so make sure you're only allowing those for applications you trust. And then camera and microphone privacy too, that's huge. So any mobile app you use, social media type app, when you say, you know, I want to post a picture, can I have access to your images or your camera? And you say yes. And every time you sign up for one of these things, you get this mile-long thing that you don't read that says when you give them access to your camera, what do they actually have access to? I mean, some of the applications, they might be able to use any of the pictures on your phone because you said yes to something in here. It's hard to say if you don't read it, you know? So just those kind of things. Make sure if you're saying yes to any of these questions, that you know what you're actually saying yes to, essentially. And just a little bit about phishing. We talk about it so much around here because almost everything we respond to is related to a phishing attempt that worked. So with emails, it's just the main ways that they try to pass off phishing, which is either to get information about you or to get into one of your accounts or to present like a virus or a piece of malware, is hyperlinks and attachments. So just if you're getting hyperlinks or attachments from people you don't expect emails from, just delete them and move on, is kind of the safest way to go about it. And then a lot of times those, if there is a piece of virus or malware, the reason an attack like that might work is because you might be running on a computer that hasn't been patched or updated in a while. So it's important to keep all those systems up to date so that any vulnerabilities that they're trying to get into are patched and don't exist. And this is just a really tiny useful slide that shows you some information you could get about email. That's I think the biggest thing to go with here is like if someone sends you a link and says, you know, open, you know, I don't know, your Bank of America account has been compromised, and there's a link, you know, inside the email that says Bank of America, but you could hover over that link and it might be going to somewhere different. So it's important to hover over your links before you click them because it'll show you where the actual address is that's going. I like that. If it looks a bit suspicious, it probably is, that kind of thing. Another big thing with phishing is spelling errors, grammar errors, and again, that urgency. People demanding, you know, you need to take care of this immediately. Things like that. Those are things to look out for. Thank you.
Okay, there are a couple things that we want to leave you with. So if you do have a compromise, what to do, and then also resources so you can stay up to date, because cybersecurity advice changes by the second. Every time there's an attack, there's a new signature or a new update that you have to run. So the folks at CISA, that is a part of the Department of Homeland Security, put together this website called stopransomware.gov. It's the most comprehensive place to find information about current cybersecurity best practice that's open. So there are some websites that we access that require background checks, but this one you can share. Please do share it if you want to share it with your families. But they're talking, or your friends or anyone else that you know doesn't have nowhere to go. So they have resources on tips and tricks for preventing ransomware, but they also will direct you to this form if you've been hit by ransomware. And where that goes is to the IC3.gov. The IC3 is the Internet Crime Complaint Center that is coordinated both by CISA and the FBI. And even though they might not reach back out to you with a response, they do start to analyze the number of attempts, let's say from a certain email address or with the same description. So it really helps them to identify the root cause and go after those criminals. So we mentioned before that there are quite a few agencies behind the scenes, and what's unique is that within the country, yes, the FBI will take action, but the Secret Service can actually go internationally and take action. So what happens is that through those FBI fusion centers that we discussed, when you report something to IC3, let's say that your grandmother's PC is encrypted with ransomware, you report it to the IC3. They then have information that they can use and provide to these agencies. And what they do is they work together to identify who is going to apprehend that criminal. And they've been really, really successful recently in identifying overseas attempts against the country's infrastructure and against people. So it's really important to know, go to stopransomware.gov or to the IC3. If you go to stopransomware.gov, it will go to the IC3, and then it opens up this world of intelligence to help mitigate the situation so other people don't have to go through what you just encountered. So as youth leaders in the community, there are a couple of things that you can do that we think would be helpful. First, learn about what resources exist in your schools to minimize cyber incidents. And if there's training that's taking place in your schools to educate students about how to stay cyber secure. Because you do not want your information, especially right now, you guys are probably going through college applications and things like that, and it contains quite a bit of information, especially when you start filling out those FAFSA forms and all of that. You have banking information, you have your parents' social security numbers as well. You want to make sure you're as secure as possible. So find out what your schools are doing, and if there's something that you think they can do more of or do better. Next, also think about how messaging about where to go to learn about, let's say, the stopransomware.gov, or what to do in case of a cyber attack, or how to, how important it is to have antivirus on an Apple device. How can we share that information with youth so they're not impacted? One of the things that we are starting to see is cell phones are having more keyloggers on them than ever before. And it's something that you wouldn't think about because Apples are designed where applications run in sandboxes, but the operating system is not. So there have been instances where through text messaging with malicious links, keyloggers have been installed on iPhones, and you won't know unless you do have these antivirus programs on your phone. The same thing's true for definitely PCs and things like that, but it is newer that they are focusing on cell phones. The other item that we are seeing is that there are a lot more fraud attempts where people are just literally calling and asking for account information, asking for bank account information because you got a gift from your grandfather and he's trying to wire it to you and he doesn't know your bank account information. So just be really aware. So do you guys have any questions for us? Yeah.
Okay, so obviously with COVID, a lot of our schoolwork has gone online, and then even though we're back in school, a lot of our schoolwork is still online. We turn it in online. And most of the time, instead of using the textbook, we look it up online rather than, using the book. But how do you know if a website is good or not to use? Because I've heard websites can have malicious stuff on them, and so then if you're trying to find information, how do you know what you're using is good, if that makes sense?
Yes, there are two quick things. What I would do first, if your operating system's patched and your antivirus is there, most likely if you do click on something, it's going to notify you right away. But there are also websites that we use to determine malicious addresses and IP addresses. Jason, WebRoot's your favorite?
Yeah, WebRoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could use threat lookup websites, but it's kind of hard. If you're in the middle of a paper and you're adding a new element of cybersecurity to your research. But there are sites you could look up. It'll basically just tell you the reputation of a website. If people have reported, whether it's it gets kind of specific. It'll say if, we've seen that a lot of phishing has occurred from this website, or malware or viruses. I mean, I think that'd be the most concern probably from your example is, right when I click on this, now I need a new computer or something like that. So there's ways you could do like threat lookup on a website, and you could put a URL, like just the domain name in there, and it would tell you.
Yeah, one of the things that it happens frequently too, if there is a website, let's say Course Hero, where you are linking it to your Gmail account, a lot of those try to stick to resources that are already trusted. Because if you do go to a new website, let's say you're downloading a PDF or an EXE or even an image, you're taking a risk unless you do that cybersecurity check. So go to resources that are widely used. And oftentimes, the great thing, if you have good endpoint detection, which is what we call antivirus, if you do download a malicious file, oftentimes it will flag it. And sometimes it will remove it before it even hits your drive.
What is the best antivirus thing for students and people to have on their computers and phones?
It depends on your device type. There are two things that I would recommend. Definitely look up the best antivirus for 2021. You'll hear quite a few. A lot of them now also offer that VPN service. So you'll want to look up what works, and many of them, when you subscribe, you can put it on 3 to 5 devices of different types. So it really depends on your device mix, but look them up. The thing that I can say as well is that a lot of these apps that parents implemented during the pandemic to track their kids are being modified to track people unexpectedly. So there is an application, it starts with a C, Cyalcadia, that you'll want to make sure is not on your iPhone. Do look up, just look up, how do I know if my iPhone's been jailbroken? And it will recommend that you look for this app on your iPhone. If you do see it, there is potential that someone is monitoring you. So that's what I would advise. I personally do not like anyone monitoring me, but you'll be able to, if you see it and then you see it's My Spy or something, you can go to your parents, hey, do you guys have My Spy on my phone? I don't, but you'll at least know it's there, or you'll know it's that your mobile device is actually infected with a keylogger.
So at least in my school district, we all have personal school emails that blocks outside emails from emailing us or from even getting into our Google Classroom meetings. But at least at my school, we were wondering if there is a way to host meetings for the public, because we had a Google Meet incident where we actually had a bunch of people from the public just join it randomly. And our principal kind of freaked out, and we want to still get our information out there, and it's a great way for us to communicate with parents. But if incidents like that keep happening, then we won't be able to do that. Is there anything that you suggest for us to look into, or a different platform to use to prevent that from happening in the future?
Very much. I don't know if Zoom offers a webinar feature, or I don't know if Google offers a webinar feature, but I know that Zoom does. And that's where they actually have to register with their valid email address before the meeting starts. That's what we did with city council meetings that when we're remote. And we did catch people signing up with bad names, or you could tell when they weren't real people. So that helps identify people that are legitimately supposed to join your webinar. So the Zoom webinar feature is very useful. We also use what's called Teams, and it's similar, but the Zoom webinar feature is what we've used successfully here. And it's not just setting up a Zoom call it's actually a webinar where they have to sign up. Are there any other questions you guys have?
Okay, so like, let's say you don't, because most of my friends, like, I mean, we know about phishing or like don't click random links, but I guess with our phones we feel more safe, or at least like some of my friends do. And so like, how do you know I mean, I don't have antivirus. I have a VPN, but I don't have antivirus stuff on my phone. How do you know if you're being like watched or monitored?
So that Cyclidia, it's a weird name. Go up to your search and type that Cyclidia name. Just say, how to view if my phone's been jailbroken. It will show up. And then you know you are being monitored somehow, because they have to have that phone jailbroken to install a lot of these tools. The other thing is that I would recommend, if you don't have antivirus on your phone, to get antivirus on your phone. It's just, I've been running a lot of tests too, with myself and with other phones, and you'd be surprised, quite a few people are running around with keyloggers and don't know it. I know Tracy actually, she's very secure with her phone, antivirus and VPN, because she had an incident as well in another country, thankfully. But she's very secure with her phone also. So yeah, the phones have been the biggest way that people have been trying to hit just normal people recently. And then the same is true for Androids. They have the antivirus software as well. Yeah, thank you guys. Well, we're really glad that you're interested in cybersecurity and just having this knowledge and looking at how you can best impact the community in a positive way, with the understanding that cyber risk is real and it impacts everyone, is just going to make you more and more valuable as a community member. And then also, as you go through college, potentially seeing different directions you can take with your education. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you for coming. It definitely was an eye-opening experience. I think I had more trust in my device than before you guys came. And I'll definitely be sharing it with my friends and family members, because technology has become such a big thing after the pandemic. So really, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, guys.
All right, do we have any oral communications?
We have none.
Awesome. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Can we approve the meeting minutes from November 3rd, 2021? Do I have a motion to approve them?
Rupert motions to approve.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Gonzalez seconds.
All right, so in lieu of calling roll, if all commissioners are are in agreement of approving the November 3rd regular meeting minutes, to say aye.
Aye.
Any,
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
any opposed? Let the record show the meeting's minutes pass with approval unanimously.
All right, now on to our work plan. So Ms. Contreras and Mr. York were a part of our civic engagement series, learning about city departments, which I think was really helpful, or for our youth cybersecurity work plan, which was really helpful, especially because our life is so much online now, especially after the pandemic. So I think that was really helpful. We have been working on our work plans and our ad hoc committees, and I'm excited to see where they're going. I don't think we have any updates yet, but I'll be excited for when we update in January and see how far we've come. Okay, so now we have informational items. I think, do we have department updates from Recreation Service Manager Staten?
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you so much. A couple of things to report on. We have events coming up in the city, As you've heard before, we do have the holiday parade, but it is upon us. It is this coming Saturday, and we hope you can all make it. All staff and volunteers will be wearing masks, and we're encouraging the public to do the same. On December 11th, we have art night. On December 31st, we have the senior citizen dance at the Community and Senior Center. It's from 2 to 4:30 p.m., so it's middle of the afternoon, not actual ring in as the ball drops here kind of thing. And on the 9th of January, we have Ciclovia. It's our second annual event, so we're looking forward to bringing that back to the community as well. As a reminder for all commissioners, the city will be dark the week between Christmas and New Year's. There will be senior nutrition still going on at the community center, but for all intents and purposes, all other city events and functions are closed during that week. And the recreation guide will be going out online today, and it will be delivered to homes by December 6th, which is also the day that registration opens for all of our next programming coming up. And those are all of the city updates.
Thank you. All right, do we have commissioner member initiated agenda items? Does anybody want to prepare? No? Okay. Are there any agenda items commissioners want to add? No? Okay, now we're on to commission reports. I guess I'll start. So LCC, our band, cheer, and dance will be in the Encinitas Holiday Parade, which I'm really excited to be a part of. Yay! Most seniors have finished their college applications, and we're getting ready to head into finals, which is kind of scary because normally they're in January, but SDUHSD changed their schedule. And overall, I think most people are really excited for the holidays. They're really spirited right now, so yeah.
Commissioner Gonzalez, the main updates for SDA is I know that there's a ping pong tournament going on right now this week and next week. And yeah, the break is coming up in about 3.5 weeks, and it's 3 weeks long, I believe. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Commissioner Junis, my school PAE, I don't have much to report, but everybody was happy because our finals, which normally take place a few weeks from now, were moved to January, so that's pretty cool.
Commissioner Leshensky, PRS is rehosting Penny Wars, which is a fundraiser where we are raising $1,500, yeah.
Commissioner Rupert at STA. Election season is coming up, and we have a lot of candidates running for positions this year. Next week is our STA Bazaar, where students are able to sell creations that they made with their clubs or in general in like pottery class or art classes at STA. As mentioned before, our ping pong tournament is coming up, and everyone's getting ready for their finals.
Commissioner Sue, at the Encinitas YMCA, our swim team is going to meet this weekend, so that is going to be very fun.
All right. I adjourn this meeting at 5:18 p.m. on Wednesday, December 1st.
Great job, everybody.